Hey, Munbalance, and have you ever looked at something and thought, man, I'd really like to ride that? Well, Final Fantasy XIV's got you covered, because there's a whole bunch of different mounts that you can get in the game. Mounts function in a way that you'd probably expect. They make the player travel faster, and later on in the game gain the ability of flight, which, as you might have guessed, makes them even faster. So, I've already done a video comparing the different speeds at which both players and mounts go at, so we're not talking about that in this video. In this video, I'd like to discuss mounts as a penultimate reward for content in Final Fantasy, and I also want to bring up some weird mount stuff that I noticed while playing that I don't see anyone else talking about. Now, mounts as a reward are only surpassed by some of the flashiest armor and weapons in the game. Mounts are generally reserved for large tasks or purchases, but honestly span a wide array of levels of rarity. Some mounts are so rare they're worth tens of millions of gil, and others are worth hundreds of gil. Some mounts are even rewards for getting other mounts, such as the Karen mount, rewarded as part of a quest for getting all 6 mounts of the ARR expert trials. And there's a mount like this for every expansion, by the way. Heck, some jobs are so unpopular they even give you a mount for playing it enough. It's tanks. Nobody likes playing tanks, and the tanks are the only ones that get a special mount just for playing the role. But logically speaking, all mounts are statistically identical, so the only real use of different kinds of mounts, as it is with most items in an MMO, it's the flex. Is an ultimate weapon statistically better than what you could get doing savage content? Nope, it's exactly the same in most cases actually. But having that on your back tells everyone around you that you did the thing. You're the big strong boy and you have a healthy relationship with 7 other people. And honestly, in an MMO, that puts you well within the top 1%. But honestly, something I found really interesting is how few normal mounts there are. Like, if you want just a horse, do you know how rare that is? Well, to start, horses from the ARR extremes aren't exactly normal, and while there are a lot of horse-like mounts, the closest you're getting to a quote-unquote normal one is probably the Judy mount from Heaven on High, and the Warsteed mounts from Frontline PvP. Interestingly, there is a normal horse that you ride as part of the Namazu tribal quests, but you don't get to keep it, and for all intended purposes, it's just a glammed down version of Gullfaxi. With mounts being such a high tier reward on average, I guess it's not feasible to make normal looking animals into mounts, but it does make cosplaying as Link a little bit more difficult. But to summarize, mounts are a fun way to express yourself and to show off to your friends, or even carry them around, since some mounts do feature additional seating for party mates. But there are some weird facts about mounts that I don't see a lot of people talking about that I want to bring up in this video. First of all, while virtually all mounts are statistically the same, there is a slight difference between mounts that can affect your gameplay. While all mounts are the same speed in the air, mounts come in all different shapes and sizes, and this can have very minor, but real implications on your gameplay. You see, since all mounts have to be functionally identical, this means that they don't alter the size of your hitbox, regardless of how big the mount is. Even this big whale can fit into this tiny hole, even though that makes no sense. But since the mount is visually bigger, this may make your hitbox a bit obscured. If you've ever been riding a big mount and you go to talk to an NPC, only to realize that you're not even close to it, then you too have experienced this hitbox discrepancy. Not to mention that the bigger mount is literally bigger and will take more real estate on your screen. This can be a bit of an issue when you're trying to find certain NPCs or glowy objects for a quest, and the mount is obscuring your vision. Additionally, there is another minor disadvantage that larger mounts have, and this is where the player is positioned on the mount. You see, to interact with NPCs, gathering nodes, or whatever else, the character needs to be firmly planted on the ground. Needless to say that the further in the air the mount holds you, the more time it'll take each time that you dismount for your character to fall to the ground level before you can interact with an NPC, gathering nodes, or whatever else. Now, I can't emphasize how minor this is. The time I calculated between my highest mount, the Indigo Whale, and the lowest mount, the SDS Fenrir, was about 10 frames at 30 FPS. So about a third of a second. Again, it's not a lot, but I can absolutely feel this when I'm playing, doing quests, gathering, or just any activity where I'm on and off the mount a lot. It just feels a whole lot better to me to use a low profile and smaller mounts. Emphasis on smaller mount, by the way. Low profile mounts can still be rather obstructing, such as the Fat Moogle mount, which, while it does offer a low profile dismount, since it's a big fat Moogle hanging directly above your character, it can get really in the way visually. I'm assured to only use optimal mounts by only including these kind of mounts on my favorites and limiting my mount roulettes to only favorites. This means that I get a lot of variety of mounts, but I know assuredly that they're all at very least somewhat optimal. As for whether there are any lower or higher mounts, I'm not sure. I'll admit my collection is very limited. I only have about 22% of all of the mounts in the game, but if you're looking for the quote-unquote best mount in the game, it's probably going to be the SDS Fenrir for its advantage in ground speed. Its very low profile and small size make it much less obstructing. And obviously the Lunar Whale is the best mount for group transport, as it boasts the highest seat count with 8 spots for your guild to sit in. Huh, they're both in the cash shop. That's gotta be a coincidence. There is also mounts like the Gloria class airship and the Neza chariot that offer second to none hitbox accuracy, but most of these advantages are superfluous and really minor. But it's something I noticed and I wanted to talk about. That's pretty much all I got on the topic though, so I hope it was informative or at very least entertaining. Like it if you liked it, sub to see more like it, and a special thanks to my Patreon supporters who get cool perks like seeing my videos a whole day early. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or concerns, and while you're down there, check the description for links where you can support the channel, and also my Discord where you can come hang out, and my Twitch where I stream every weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.